Okay, this is great. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Of course.
This is
Happy to be here.
I've been excited to get you on. You're like Mr. Energy, I think. You got a lot going on.
I appreciate that.
You got a lot going on, and really. I was thinking about this morning. You're like Mr. Sparty, right?
Well, I've been around a while now. Trying to follow in Izzo's got
I mean, there's Izzo, right? He is Sparty. I mean, right? Even though he didn't go to Michigan State, he didn't play for Michigan State. He's really come on as being the sort of the voice, the person, But then there's who is going to replace him, right? And to me, when I look at everything that's going on, it's you, right?
It's very kind.
Well, I don't know if it's kind. My bedside manner's never been that great.
Well, what I think about is, first of all, Tom's not going anywhere for a while, thankfully, but Fitz is 51, Adam's 45, Jay's 44. Like, you're seeing a new generation of Spartans kind of come in the last couple of years. And that does give us a plan for when Coach eventually calls it quits. But he's got more energy than me, so I don't think it's coming any day soon.
I agree. When I go to see him and I see him in practices, I don't know if his job's ever been easier. And you can talk about NIL, you can talk about the portal, but when I see him coaching, it's like you drive 4 miles over here, you're in sweats and whatever, and you run track. And it's a big, obviously, institutional thing, that basketball. But, man, I don't know. I don't see him, like, hanging this thing up very quick. No, I don't claim to have like any intimate conversations with him at all. Like, I'm not on the inside. I just look and think, man, absent an acute situation, I don't see this changing at all.
I don't either. And once Kevin Guskowitz got here, 18 months, 2 years ago now, that changed the energy that Izzo has. And then you bring Jay in, who's obviously innovative. He's at the top of his field. Coach gets to do a little more basketball. There was a while there where we were,
that's probably true.
And that energizes you when you're not dealing with some of the stuff he was dealing with. I think his little term as interim AD showed him a lot about college athletics, and he just seems happier to me than he has been in a couple of years, and he loves his team. That changes too. That changes how the coach thinks.
Not only does he not have to do it, but maybe to credit those people, the people that are doing those jobs are doing them right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can rely on other people. I mean, that's a good sign. And I think Kevin is he's a 1 in a million, I think.
World class.
Yeah.
I mean, just someone we all love to work for, love his vision, but also we love the deeply personal way he handles all relationships.
Yeah, he's very easy to talk to.
This morning he was wishing students good luck on their exams, and then he's with the Williams and he's with us, he's with our kids. He's very, very exceptional. It gives Tom comfort that the place that we care about so much. I think that's one thing where him and I share, and Jake Boss and Stacy Slobodnik. So we've been here so long.
Right.
You care about the place to the point when new people come, the first thing is like, hey, make sure you care about this like we do.
Here's the line, and I want your critique, because we're gonna get, how this works. So I don't know if you've watched any of it.
Oh yeah.
We talk about what it was like for you to grow up and where you're from and your family and blah blah. That important stuff about who you are, and then we talk about sort of your professional career, and then we kind of wrap up with where do you go from here kind of thing. So, but here's a line, and I'd like to know what your thoughts are. And so Jonathan Smith gets terminated on Sunday, right? And almost right away, the rumor is we're hiring Pat Fitzgerald, right? I mean, didn't last long because it was true, right? They hired him the next day. And my line is, well, Joel Ferguson didn't leak that rumor, did he?
Well, I obviously am not on the inside on that one, so I don't know if anybody did, but it was a whirlwind, but also it was an AD who had been working.
Yeah.
And I don't know the timeline. I don't know how he got to that.
Right.
We just know we trusted him, and I know it was a brutal decision, but whoever had it right, and we're so excited that Fitz is our coach.
Right, and more of my commentary is, do you need a guy like Joel Ferguson to run Michigan State? Because it is sort of, Joel had such a significant fingerprints on,
no doubt,
especially the athletic part of it. And, there's obviously a lot of people that know him that don't. I would say that don't really know him, but there are a lot of people that don't like him,
Sure.
and there are a lot of people that knew him that loved him. You know,
Absolutely.
and I'm wondering, in this post Joel Ferguson era, right, which is for a lot of people that's going to say, oh, that this is the best thing, but can we operate successfully without like a mover and shaker on the board who really understands maybe where athletics needs to go?
Sure. I think, obviously the board, from my standpoint, I don't have any contact with the board, but our leaders do. I think more the community, institutional knowledge is a very special thing. When I worked at Miami University, it felt like there was a new coach coming in every 6 months, and that's just how the MAC is built. Here, institutional knowledge matters, how we get things done. Speaking when we're hiring people, do they understand the culture, the values of this place? Because I think it is different. Joel obviously understood that well. He led from behind the scenes.
Right.
I know that there was a lot of opinions about Joel, but if you cared about Michigan State and you worked hard on behalf of Michigan State, he had your back.
Yeah.
Going forward, as we turn this over, I'm hoping to find Spartans. Not every place needs to be a lifetime place, but the more lifetime people who are wildly invested, I think the better we're going to be.
Right.
Because this is a retail politics kind of town here, right? Donors don't give until you've been with them a lot. You see the same 150 people kind of everywhere you go, and they become part of your life. I think that's what makes it special. That's why I don't want to leave, but it's not for everybody.
That's a great term. I've never heard that, retail politics. That's a great way to describe it, right?
It's not. Nick Saban walked into a room, who's going to the Hall of Fame tomorrow, and he asked a group of supporters to write a check. It's Nick Saban. They wrote the check.
Right.
Here, it's much more personal than that. We played golf together. We've had dinner together. You've been in my home. I've been in your home. That's how we've always operated.
Right.
And new people struggle with that at first until they realize you're not just going to be working as hard as you can. You're also going to be living your life with the people who support you and they're lifelong friends no matter what. That's what gives the job a tremendous amount of meaning to me and Izzo, obviously, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to describe Michigan State. As it's really about long-term relationships.
It is, definitely.
So you're born and raised in Cedar Springs.
You got it. Sand Lake, little town of 500 people.
My friend, former employee Austin Thornton, was the best athlete I knew out of Cedar Springs or Sand Lake area.
Yep.
But I never really associated you with that area. I don't know why, but I guess I only learned that this year.
It's kind of a neat story. There's been 3 athletes from Cedar Springs who have played in the Big Ten, a wrestler from the 70s, and then Austin and I. So in the 5th grade, there's a tradition that you shoot layups until you miss, and it's a huge deal. And I had the record, 600 and I think it was 18 layups in a row in 5th grade. And that record stood until, 6-7 years later, Austin Thornton made like 1,200. And I'm like, who is this guy?
Right.
And then when I watched him play against Drew Neitzel, he made his mark out on the team. It was really a big thing for Cedar Springs to have 2 athletes from the same school.
Isn't that funny how you, the history of athletics in that way, you remember, athletes that come out of your school or your city or whatever. I mean, obviously here it's Magic Johnson,
For sure, yeah.
Magic Johnson. Remember when he did this? Or remember when he did that? Right, but there's a lot of good ones from here, and probably the same for Cedar Springs.
Well, it's my daughter's going to play varsity basketball this year as a freshman at Hazlitt, and she's playing a game at Cedar Springs High School.
Wow, that'll be fun.
And the first time I get to go back and watch her play in my home gym, I mean, that's what small towns and being from a place is about. And I'm excited that I'm only an hour and a half away. But, in these jobs, you don't get over there very often.
So tell me, any siblings?
Yeah, I have a brother, Andy, who was 6 years older than me. I would say as much of anything, he raised me. I did everything in life because he did it first.
Right.
So we used to skateboard, and I skateboarded because of him.
Right.
And then I got into golf because of him. I played basketball because of him. He was a wonderful athlete. He visited this weekend. He was really my inspiration to be a good golfer.
And so just one sibling.
Yeah.
But a bigger gap. Not 6 years is not. It's just enough that you don't really fit in, right? You're either way too young, way too small, way too slow, right?
And we were from, in Cedar Springs, we were the only Lubahns. There was 4 of us. All the other Lubahns are out of state. So he was the reason anyone had a connection to me by the time I was growing up and got to high school.
Right.
Little things like the seniors didn't pick on the freshmen because I was Andy's little brother.
Right.
Or, Andy was the one who said, if you ever do anything to jeopardize your athletic career, you're going to have to deal with me, not mom and dad.
Right.
He was that person for me. And watching him come in this weekend, he sat with me at the Duke game. It's the first time he's been back. To see what this has become from my life gives him a source of pride, and it was special for me.
What does he do?
He was a country music artist for a long time. So when I was growing up in golf, my parents would take me on golf trips, and we would always leave him wherever he was.
Right.
And for his 21st birthday, we bought him a guitar. Now, at this point, we didn't know he could play. We didn't know he could sing. About a month later, he played in front of the church. About 3 years later, he was playing the House of Blues all over America. He had his own record. I traveled and watched him play concerts all over the country. It was pretty cool.
Wow, that's fun.
Talented guy.
That's fun.
Yeah. So we don't have a lot of things in common anymore, but we've always shared that bond of he would watch me play golf and I would watch him sing in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, that's exciting. So what do your parents do?
My dad owned his own company. My parents were in the commercial laundry equipment. So if you were going to build a laundromat in the state of Michigan, it would generally be my father who would have done that. Went through a lot of struggles around after 9/11. The company kind of went under, and I put myself through college. My father took everything he had in life, and he paid back the people he owed. It's one of the great lessons. You could just file bankruptcy and move on, and him and my mother would have been in a much better situation.
Sometimes you didn't even have to file bankruptcy. You could just said, "Hey,
walk away."
Yeah, after 9/11, there was a different sort of era about that stuff. But
he paid everybody back, and they lived very modestly, but they've been incredibly supportive. They gave me the tools to get to where I got to, and now later in life they're comfortable and they're grandparents, and I get to see them quite a bit. So.
What was your mom working? Or
yeah, she would run the laundromats. We would build laundromats for other people. We also built a couple for ourselves and ran them. And that's how I got everything in life. Those quarters that went through the machines.
Right.
That's how I got golf clubs, and that's how I got golf balls. And
years ago, I looked at doing one of those, and I just, the one over in Frandor. Since I was single, I would go over there from time to time, and I thought, God, I'd love to own one of these.
It's a pretty good model, right? Paul Martin, who used to run the Quality Dairy, so my father probably built 6 or 7 laundromats in this town.
For him.
Yeah, and I keep looking at them and seeing that they're still thriving. So yeah,
it's incredible.
It was a good business. It gave us everything we needed in life, and more importantly, my parents. I had I'd say a disciplinary mother. Well, she was the tougher one.
Right.
She wasn't heavy on discipline, but she was the tough one, and my father was the fan. So when I was going through golf and I really wasn't good enough to play at this level, I just thought my dad, at the Big Ten level, like when I started, my dad just thought I was a good player, and that meant a lot to me, right?
Well, but it doesn't sound like your parents were golf people.
They all played. I wouldn't say they were golf people, right? But my dad was probably a 15 and my mom was a 20. I remember her shooting 43 one day and thought that was amazing.
And where did you play?
We grew up at a very small golf course called Brookside. And then when I was 11 years old, my parents helped invest in a golf course in Cedar Springs called Cedar Chase, which is a very good public golf course. So I kind of had my run of the place there.
How far was it from your house?
Oh, everything's far over there, but it was like 10 miles.
So you're not riding your bike there with your clubs?
No.
You had to get a ride.
I would work the bag shift in the morning. I'd be the cart kid from
Somebody would drop you off there.
6:30
You had to get there.
I'd get my mom or dad would take me in 6:30. I'd work the bag shift, try and collect as many tips as I could.
The bag shifts, I know what it is, but
I would get your clubs out of the car.
Right, you'd be waiting at this sort of curb, so to speak, or someplace in the parking lot where people would drop off their clubs.
Yeah. And it was a dirt driveway. Going back to this is not the world I live in now. I'd grab their clubs, I'd rush them over to the cart, I'd get them a wet towel, and then where I'd really make my money is after the round, I would clean those clubs as well as I could.
Yeah, so $5 to $8 or $3 or whatever.
Yeah, back then $2 was a big deal. I remember the first day I got $165 and I had made it.
Yeah.
Like I'm rich at that point. But then I would play and practice until somebody could get me in the evening time.
So you were there all day.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts about where I grew up, the director of the UAW for Region 1D became my best friend in life. I remember we were playing golf. He was 63 and I was 13. and we would play golf every night when he got out of work. He became my hero, my mentor, everything in life. And that's how you grow up in that situation, right?
In the golf, world, there's a natural sort of staging, right? Or it's nothing for people to see that out there. Like you're playing with somebody who's at a different genre, different age, different status in life. And there's so much you can learn over 2 or 3 hours about somebody, right?
It's the best. I mean, that's how I grew up. That's how I learned to do some of the things I do. I didn't hang out with my peers. My friends were 50, 60 years old, and I played in their golf league. And, that's my
gambled, probably.
We might have played for a buck here or there.
I mean, but that's a learning experience. I mean, I tell this story. It's not unusual. The first time I played golf, probably without my dad, was with a neighbor kid, and we played for the scorecard for 4 holes, and we got done, and we all had to sign the scorecard, and we were 9 or 10 or 8 or whatever it was, and when he graduated from high school, his mom pulled out those scorecards, but it was something. And then the original bet that you learn, at least the way we grew up, was double or nothing. Like that was always a bet you could do, right?
No matter where the game's at, this hole's double or nothing. 100%.
And it is a sort of a way of growing up that I'm not ashamed of or bashful about. It was definitely a learning and an equalizer between you and adults, right?
Oh, no doubt. They didn't care if I was 13 and I only had $7 in my pocket. Like we were competitors. We were friends. I remember one time we were playing a skins game, and I had marked my ball kind of in an old ball mark. And I didn't want to fix the ball mark, so I just moved my ball a little ahead. And one of them said to me, he's like, that'll be the last time you ever play with us if you do that again. What a life lesson.
Right,
I still think about the feeling that gave me when he said that, right? So as you go through this game, those moments are, we always talk about this being a game of integrity, and it is.
Right.
But where did you learn that from? You had to learn it from the people you played with as your formative years. If you're just at a club playing with 4 of your buddies, those shenanigans happen all the time between 13 and 18. You're playing with adults. You follow the etiquette and rules.
I think that's true. The guys you play with, they can teach you a lot, right?
Absolutely. My first golf pro was he worked for the Tiger Woods family. He was close with Earl Woods, this worldly guy, minority PGA pro, which was very rare at the time. And he taught me
especially
in Grand Rapids. Taught me a lot about being a competitor and holding me accountable to the standards that he had. I mean, those are the things that, as you get in this job and you're coaching, well, all that stuff started. My education to be a coach started when I was 11, 12 years old, playing with those guys.
And I don't know, I mean, you would have a better sense, but how many of your players, how many players do you see today that grow up working at the golf court, and shagging balls and picking the range and doing the bag drop and caddying, it's more of a elite scenario than that sort of ride my bike to the golf course and work all day and ride home or get it dropped off, right?
There's a few on my team that probably grew up that way, but most of them did not. And I always go back to the Tiger Woods kind of evolution of the game. He comes out and we think the game is going to be more for the masses and the minorities and different populations. The reality was he made the game so popular. He actually made it harder to access from a lot of standpoints.
Much more attractive to the elite.
So the elite now who can join these clubs and can pay these greens fees and the tournament costs to travel your kids around, it ended up going the other way where the game wasn't accessible, right? And that's one of the real sadnesses of that. I think we'll get back to that at some point. But, golf has never been more expensive and harder to access right now for a youth.
It became socially acceptable that your kid, even though the child may not be Tiger Woods caliber, plays a Tiger Woods golf schedule, right?
Yeah, 100%. Right? Yeah, I mean, the AJGA is where most of the kids played growing up, right? Tiger, Phil, all those guys. Well, now there's 6 of those events every week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the demand has just continued to go up. Whereas I would say inner city, different population, different demographic golf still hasn't grown like it should.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have a chapter here really that's thriving yet. Grand Rapids has a little bit. We still aren't growing the game for the masses. And I haven't had a player that's been a caddy in a long time, whereas almost all the alums that I deal with were all caddies growing up, right? You know?
So tell me, in high school, what kind of player you are?
So I would say, I was thinking about this the other day, actually. You know, not knowing from where I was, not knowing what a good player even was other than my golf pro, it was kind of the middle of my junior year. My first couple of years, you know, you're all conference and you're all Grand Rapids area.
And tell me what years that is.
That's 96 was my freshman year, high school.
So 96 is the first year Tiger Woods turns pro, or 97 or something.
He won in fall of 96, right? He won the amateur. So, you know, I looked
everybody
at
knew who he was.
Everybody knew he was before that.
Yeah.
But he still hadn't made the impact on the market yet.
Right.
It was still just a bunch of guys. Like I stopped growing and the rim was still 10 feet. So I focused on golf instead of basketball. But I would wear jeans and a sweatshirt and I would play in high school matches. You know, we didn't have budgets for golf bags or any of that stuff. And I was a decent player. I mean, I thought I was closer to being a good player than I was, but I was a decent player. It wasn't until my junior year where I won the regional and I was one of the top seeds at state here in St. John's where I thought, okay, maybe college golf is going to be a thing.
Your school would have been what class?
98. That would have been fall of 98.
Class what?
What's that?
Class B.
Oh, B at the time,
Yeah.
They're all different now, but we were B.
Yeah.
And I just got my butt kicked at states. I ended up being all state, but
Really?
I didn't realize like the Jimmy Chestnuts of the world, these are names we know now. They were so far head and shoulders above me.
Jimmy would have been Class A, right? Or
He
not?
was Class A, but you know, when you talk about the super team and the best 10 golfers in the state, I wasn't even under consideration for that. And so then, you know, what happens is you go into your senior year thinking, I want to play college
Mark
golf.
Hankins is the coach, right?
I think he was. Yeah, he had just started. It might have been his first year. It might have been.
Did you know
Coach
Ken Horvath
Not
or
at the time.
Bruce Fossum at all?
Actually, that's a great story, and he probably wouldn't appreciate this so
Because I
much.
think my memory is it was Bruce, then Ken, then back to Bruce for a period of time,
a year
right?
and a half, I think.
Yeah, and then he actually found Mark. Right?
Yeah, and the reason why I know that is my junior year, I sent all the letters you send, right?
Right, because you had to self-promote.
Oh, 100%.
right.
You had to buy that
especially
book.
for golf. Yep.
Book from AJGA, so you had all the names and addresses. And I got a letter back from Michigan State. The assistant coach sent it at the time. His name's Russ Cunningham. I still see Russ. And it was very polite, and he was 100% correct. But it said, Dear Casey, like, quite honestly, you're not good enough to play at this level. We wish you the best of luck.
Didn't quite say that.
Yeah, that's how I'm paraphrasing. It was,
Right.
but even that's how I read it.
Right.
And I didn't have an affinity for Michigan State to the level I do now. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go somewhere else. They weren't that good, right?
Right.
But the school that contacted me was Miami University, and they were very good.
Miami,
Ohio.
yeah.
Yeah, they were very good at the time.
Yeah.
So that we call it a thanks but no thanks. The thanks but no thanks letter from Michigan State didn't really fuel me because I had better options.
Right.
I did save it, and I have since, used it as a source of inspiration. But my senior year was very poor because I was trying so hard to earn that spot at Miami University, and luckily they were nice enough to say, you're an invited walk-on. You can come on down.
Right, preferred walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was in April. They finished 12th in the national championship in May, which is amazing for a max
Hank
school.
Schlichberg. I don't know, would he have been on that team?
He was a little before that team.
Yeah,
but
so Hank Schlichberg.
But he was part of the reason they were so good.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Pete McCogan, played there. I don't know if you know Pete at all.
I don't.
But yeah, he's out of Cincinnati. He was a good player.
They were one of the first schools to have big international recruits. So they finished 12th. About a month later, the board at Miami decided to cut the golf program.
Men's golf because of Title IX.
It was funding Title IX. They cut wrestling. They cut a bunch of things. So by the time I got to August and I was committed to go into the school no matter what, they said, hey, we're going to have tryouts. We're going to have a team. We're just not going to have nearly the roster spots, the budget that we had prior to this. I went down to tryouts. I shot 75, 72, 77.
Yeah, you had to have been close to winning.
No, I finished
Not
like
even close?
ninth, and they said, "Sorry, you're cut."
Oh, wow.
So now I'm at this school that at the time was $25,000 a year that my parents could not afford.
Yeah, yeah.
No academic, no scholarship help from the golf team, no spot on the team. And even though I love that place,
And it's a long ways to go.
yeah, 6 hours.
And it's not like a direct route, right? I mean, I've been down there.
Driving through the cornfields,
Yeah.
didn't have a cell phone, right?
Right,
I had a great experience there, but about halfway through that year, I needed to come back to a place that, one, I had some connections. Two, my parents could help pay for a little more
Yeah.
because it was expensive. So I don't know why I ended up at Michigan State, honestly. I wanted to work in politics. I knew that for sure. That was my dream always, is to
Really?
be a White House staffer.
Really?
Oh, that was my thing. I studied the presidents growing up, so I moved back to
Really?
Lansing, thinking, well, maybe I can get a job working on the Capitol here in politics, and that's why I came.
And so who is the coach at the time?
The coach at Miami at the time was
No, at Michigan State.
Oh, so this would now Hankins would have started between when I got the letter and when I came back.
Yeah.
It would have been his second year.
Okay.
So I come back, got a job working state senate here, volunteered a little bit on the 2000 presidential campaign. Like now I'm living
2000. That's Bush score.
Bush, yeah, living the dream. That's all I want to do. Right?
Really?
Oh yeah. But I kept playing golf because why not?
Where are you playing at Forest Acres?
Yeah, I would actually. You know what I'd do? I'd go over to Waverly.
Oh, yeah, the
There was-
golf course.
There was
yeah.
a driving range,
Yeah.
and I'd bring my own golf balls, and I'd hit them.
Shag range.
Yeah, and then I just bring them back and I hit them because I worked for a group right next door that was involved in adult and community second tier education. We were a lobbying group, so I would work for them and I'd walk out and I'd hit 7-irons, and I'd go pick them up and come back.
Right. Unheard of, probably.
Unheard of. And,
At your level, what you're doing now, right? I don't know. Maybe they do that at the chipping range that you have.
they do a little, but I mean that's off the best turf in the world. I was hitting out of the rough.
Yeah, right. I know.
So I did that for a year, and then then starts my journey with Mark Hankins, which is kind of a classic.
Well, tell me about that, because I think the world of Mark.
Oh, me too.
And I
Me
have
too.
I have a sort of a distant relationship, but he was here at sort of a special time, you
Yes, he
know.
was.
And quite frankly, our golf team was not very accomplished. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way, right?
We had a cold stretch in there for a decade or more
Yeah.
before he got here. Yes.
Yeah.
So I went to tryouts. So now we're talking my second year. I went to tryouts at Forest Acres East, and I shot 72. Another kid shot 70. We played one round.
You remember who that was?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a walk-on.
It was a walk-on from Grand Rapids. His
Wait,
name
you're-
was Bobby something.
Wasn't Bobby Albers.
No, that was later. That was during
Yeah.
my tenure. Good kid, good player. So he got the spot on the team. So I get cut. Now I'm
Okay.
and so I went right into politics, like loving this, doing all this thing.
What'd you shoot?
72 on the East, and he shot 70. No,
Yeah,
that's not
East.
very good on
Yeah,
the East.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of a short tryout, but that was it. That's all I got. So I worked in politics, kept playing just for fun.
Right.
If I could save some money, I'd go to Forest Acres East and play.
Right.
I went to Grossbeck a lot in those days to
Yeah,
get some rounds
yeah.
in. And then I lived with my high
And
school
what
buddies.
year are we talking
This
about?
is 2000, 2001.
So it's the national championship.
Yeah.
And Zach Randolph, Marcus Taylor,
Because I would have
Yeah.
come in right after the first, or after the
Jay
2000 title.
Richardson,
Yeah,
yeah.
that team was
Charlie
unbelievable.
Bell, and we lose to Arizona in the Final Four.
Kind of got crushed out there a little bit. And
Yeah.
I remember watching, like, that was my first experience as a Michigan State fan, watching the Final Four.
Yeah.
So that summer, I signed up for 3 events. The U.S. Open local qualifying,
Right.
4 events, sorry. U.S. Open local, the U.S. Am qualifier. They were both at Muskegon Country Club.
Yeah. Good.
And I shot 72 in the U.S. Open local, didn't advance. U.S. Am, I lost. I shot 68, 74, lost in a 4-for-1 playoff with Camilo Villegas, Ricky Barnes.
Was that that wasn't at the club?
That was at Muskegon Country Club.
Oh, okay.
I lost, and I didn't know who these guys were. I wasn't even on the
No,
team.
right.
I shoot 68, 74, and I'm in a playoff with 3 first-team All-Americans.
Who were they?
Ricky Barnes, who won the
Ricky
USAM
Barnes,
the
right.
next year. Camilo Villegas, who
Right.
became a Hall of Famer, basically. And then a guy named Aaron Pellegram, who was first team All-America at Baylor.
Right.
So I lose that playoff. The Michigan Amateur, I
So
lost.
so did two other guys.
Yeah,
right?
so two elite players, by the way. The kid who won the USAM lost that playoff
What
as well.
old you start on?
16 was where the playoff was.
So yeah, 16. Oh yeah, so the hardest hole on the
Yeah,
court.
I hit driver 6 there in the right bunker, and I hit
and
wedge.
they're hitting driver wedge.
Ricky Barnes hit wedge and made 6.
Yeah.
Villegas made a 30-foot putt that broke 8 feet, and he's moving on, and the rest of us are
It's
nobody.
not a comfort hole.
No, especially for a guy who had no clue what he was
Right,
doing.
right.
Right. But then that was prior to that. I had finished in the semifinals of the Michigan Am. I lost to one of the Michigan State kids in the semifinals.
Where was that?
That was at Battle Creek. No, not Battle Creek. It was at Flint Golf Club,
yeah.
and I lost to Brent Goik in the semis.
Oh yeah, Brent's
And
up in Saginaw. Or something.
Yeah, so he was already on the team.
Yeah. Big kid.
Big guy. Yeah, and then I lost to I finished 4th at the GAM. So I played 4 events, and those were kind of the results.
Yeah, that's great.
And I thought that would kind of get me a spot on the team. And I went back out, shot 73 in a one-day qualifier. I did win, but it wasn't good enough, so Hankins cut me again.
Hankins doesn't. I mean, you didn't fit his profile of.
At all.
No, he liked the big kids, right?
Everybody was 6'5", except for
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
So I was really bummed at that point. But I had made peace. Hey, I'm going to go to Washington. I'm going to do political stuff.
So
And
now you're in your junior year.
yeah, I'm in my 3rd year. This is August. October 15th, he called and said, hey, you know what? I want you to join the team. So I'd been cut 3 times now, but he just gave me a spot in October.
So tell me who's on the team then. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, Eric Jorgensen, who ended up being
Yeah.
a phenomenal player, Big Ten champion. John Koskinen,
Yeah.
Andrew Ruthkowski,
Okay.
Ben Fox.
Are they? Is Ruth your age or?
Ruth is 1 year younger than me at this point.
Okay.
And trying to think, JJ Beckstrom. I mean, it was a pretty good team.
JJ's local or not?
He lives in Calusa, or he's in Naples.
Was
now.
he local?
Muskegon, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I joined the team October 20th. A year later, now I didn't think I was very good there. A year later, I played a lot in the spring, played in the Big Tens, played in the NCAAs, and we made it to the regional, which was a huge deal for the program at the time.
Right.
And then a year later to that date, we finished the fall season, and I was number 1 on the team.
Really?
And it was just timing. It was confidence.
I think Carrie and I went down to a Big Ten tournament, a Big Ten match at Scarlet. For some reason, we showed up, and I think Jorgensen was the number 1 player at the time, or was a player. He was playing on the team, so
that would have been NCAA finals at Scarlet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the only time he'd have played there. And he almost won. He won the Big Ten and then finished like 12th at NCAAs that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got, that was a fun stretch for me because one, I showed I could play at this level, which I didn't really understand. And then 2, the team was actually doing quite well. Big Ten wise, we were in the
and none
middle.
of the guys that you think of, like I remember Koskinen, nice guy, good guy, and
Great
I think
guy.
he's coaching someplace, right? A women's team.
Florida International, he's been coaching for a while now.
Yeah,
He played in 2 U.S. Opens
yeah.
back-to-back
Big
years.
kid.
Big kid.
And
They were all big.
I remember Jorgensen, although I don't think I could identify him now, but I remember we went out. Carrie and I were at the Scarlet. We watched him play. I think we walked. But man, I don't know. Would he have been a senior?
He was my year. He ended up being my year.
So there would have been one more year. The year in your junior
Yeah,
year.
my junior year, yeah. And he won the Big Ten that year
Okay.
And then-
as
actually,
an individual.
as an individual. Yeah, we finished 5th in Iowa. He won. That's the first time we had a winner since.
Yeah.
I think it might have been the first winner, actually.
Yeah, maybe Lynn Jansen or somebody.
I think this was it.
Yeah.
So this is my 3rd year. And then we rolled into my 4th year. Where
I mean,
we
is
just
there
couldn't-
any part of you that's like, can you believe you cut me twice? I'm the number 1 guy. You didn't really talk to Hankins like that, but
No, you didn't. I ended up being so appreciative. I couldn't get to that, but I used that in the back of my mind.
yeah,
right?
of
Like,
course.
you know,
And you'd honestly, you never come off as one of those kind of guys, like the chip on your shoulder guy. You always come off as being super positive about everything. I don't know. There's some guys that constantly have a chip.
Sure.
But how could you not, right?
My favorite, that's why match play was my thing because it's in there. I'm just more
for sure.
political animal. I would love when I show up at a USAM. I played well in the pub links a couple times, Michigan Am, and somebody like, we're playing that little guy. Like, you're already down. You're already 2 down the minute you said that, right?
Right.
I love that part about it. But I just wanted to make sure Hankins he felt like putting me on the team was worth it. I remember that being my big motivation.
You wanted to prove something.
I wanted to prove that he was right.
And he was tough.
Oh, gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
He was not, I mean, look at with us, when I say us, I'm talking about my brother Jerome. And
sure.
Carrie and I, and, there was a group of guys. I honestly think he envied us a little bit, but he was not the same way with us that he was with his players, and he could be brutally honest,
I remember him telling one of the best players on the team who's had a bad putting stretch, and I won't use the exact language because it's not PG-13.
We can.
But he said to the kid who was putting bad, he said, "Listen, crappy putters are crappy players. I don't want crappy players on my team." And I remember thinking, like, as that story was repeated to me, like, that's as harsh as it can be.
Yeah.
Because that's in your head now, too, right?
Yeah.
And that guy ended up being great. But when I was just finished that fall season, I was number 1. I remember the next day we had like a 5-mile run, which we don't do anymore. We did back then a lot. And the only person I didn't beat was Mark Hankins.
Yeah, he was
like a deer.
He was a conditional. and by the way, I think a great player,
Oh, good player.
I couldn't. I mean, I played with him, at least a handful of times, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
But he also had some good stories, about almost qualifying for tour. And
very
what he would do, and he was health not working out. Right,
still does. Crazy.
Yeah.
Like I worked out more at that point in my life because of him. So we do this 5-mile run, and I win. I beat everybody on the team, but I don't beat him. And he pulled me aside real carefully, and he leaned over and he goes, "That wasn't even close to your best effort." I'm thinking, God, I'm the number 1 player. I got a 3.5 this semester. I just beat everybody in the team run, and he was on me.
Yeah.
Right, and that's. Until you get to the far side with Mark Hankins, you don't, like when you're a former player.
Right.
Now you see the genius of it. At the time, it was like, golly, I hate playing for this guy.
Right. And so you go into your senior year.
Perfect example of what we worry about. Now I'm somebody. I was almost all Big Ten. I had a chance to win the Big Tens. I got to carry this thing out so I can go have a professional career.
Whatever, yeah.
And the whole thing was a disaster.
Oh, really?
Because the expectations go up.
You're no longer the underdog. You're no longer, instead of trying to get a little bit better, you try and get a lot better, and you're playing for the outcome, not the process.
100%. We see this a lot, but
it happens to everybody, to be honest, right?
It does. At some point in their career, they all do this.
Yeah.
I went from playing a fade to a draw, and tried to get longer, and everything was just a disaster.
Right.
And I remember before we left for Big Tens, Mark saying to me, like, you don't have to be a professional golfer. And it was really the first time. It was just simply set enough where I'm like, he's right. I can have a life doing anything.
Right.
Why was I so beholden to this? A year ago, I'd have killed to be on this team. Now I have expectations that I should be playing for a living.
Contentment sometimes can be the greatest form of improvement, right?
But I always say there's 2 things in golf. You practice like it's life and death, and you have to play like you don't care.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I was playing like it was life or death.
Yeah.
And that contentment, I never really enjoyed that year. So I was going to go back into politics, and that's when he talked me into taking a $14,000 a year job, only paid for 9 months. The summertime I had to work if I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
And so I graduated after a terrible senior year, and one day I'm a player, and the next day I'm a coach.
And tell me what year that would have been.
That was 2004. So the Jimmy Chestnuts, the Andrew Rutkowskis of the world, Matt Harmon, Ryan Brem, these are all guys. I didn't play with Ryan, but he knew me as a player.
Right.
Next thing you know, I'm their assistant coach.
So the year we go to Houston, is that your first year?
The
as an assistant coach or
No,
second
no,
year?
they had started going before I was even on the
No,
team.
the first year that you were an assistant coach.
Oh yeah,
You remember that we played together?
yeah, oh yeah, that was year one. Yeah, that
Was
was
it?
year one. Yeah.
Yeah, because Bren was on that team
Yeah.
and Ruskowski, and
I still have that picture.
you do?
Yeah. So it was a wild.
And what did you study in college?
I wanted to be a lawyer,
Yeah.
so I studied pre-law and economics, and I didn't like any of that. Not because I just thought it was a means to being a political operative.
Yeah.
Like what I used to watch this show called The West Wing. You remember that show?
I do. I never watched it. But,
Okay. Well, I just wanted to be one of those guys.
right.
One of my favorite things in life is not to be the guy necessarily, but be the guy counts on.
Right.
That line always meant something to me. So
Jordan, who was Clinton's guy?
oh, George Stephanopoulos.
No.
Talking about chief of staff, or
He was the one that resolved the girl problem. It was Jordan. Jordan might have been his first name, but he was one of those guys that was a fixer.
fixer. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a great job. Kind of like a lot of guys. That's a great job to want to be, but you have to be really connected. It takes years to get there, and you have to.
You have to put on a hold your life too, right? But I always thought there was something romantic about being president. I think as the years have gone on, that has gotten less romantic in society, but it is a noble thing. And the people who work for a president, they make $40,000-$50,000 a year, and it's their whole life, but it's part of their
Right.
legacy. I really wanted to do that. Sometimes I still do.
Well, you're young enough. There's a lot you could do. But tell me, is there any way you can tell me what the college life experience was for you? Obviously, you're a Division I athlete,
Sure.
but you're not. Are you living with golfers? Or are you living on your own? Or
It's a great question because it's an argument I have with today's players. Like early on, I lived with friends, friends from
Right.
my hometown, friends who I'd met along the way. So when I would get done with the day, golf, I could shut
Right.
it off. Later in my career, I lived with Eric Jorgensen. I lived with, John Koska. I lived with those guys. Well, now golf is so consuming all the time.
your best friends are guys you're competing with, and as much as they're teammates, you're still competing against them, right?
Sure, there's no one in the world you want to beat more than your best friends
Yeah.
at that situation. And that can be unhealthy.
Yeah.
And it was for me, right? I missed that social aspect of my life where we would be done with dinner, and instead of going out and doing whatever you do as a college student, we'd go hit putts.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you ever get any kind of scholarship from Michigan
I
State?
did the last year. And as I talked about, I had to kind of put myself through college on credit cards and student
Right.
loans. So that last year, Mark Hankins helped me out a lot. And I think about, like, where would I be in life without that? Because I was still paying off that student loan debt not that long ago, and I'm 44 years old. So
Yeah,
that meant
yeah.
a lot to me.
They're giving me a clock notice. We're
Okay.
going to go way over. When he told me he didn't have any place to be, I thought, first of all, that's a complete lie. And second of all, your phone keeps buzzing, doesn't it?
Oh, nonstop. So it's all right. There's a lot of good things going on in Michigan State world right now.
Sure. So you're going to school and you're coming to the end, and you decide to take this $14,000 a year job. Pre-law and econ is like, I don't know what they'd call it today, but it's not necessarily like there's a bunch of employers here trying to hire, right?
No. Yeah, no. I had watched this show, and that's what a lot of them studied was law, so they
Right.
could be political operatives, and that's why I did it.
You never take the LSAT.
I never did. I took the other one to get into graduate school,
GRE or
GRE, because
Yeah.
I want to get my master's in public policy. It was
Did you ever do that?
It was sad because I got admitted to the program, and then I'm sitting here looking at this salary, and I'm thinking, I can't take on any more debt. I don't know if I'm ever going to make any money in this world. And that's when I kind of dove into coaching. Like, okay, I'm going to be a coach and see where this world takes me.
Are you really a coach when you're an assistant golf coach? Because I don't ever remember Fossum having an assistant
No,
golf coach. And I just don't even know what that job would entail other than, loading the van up with golf clubs.
Well, we did say we were glorified secretaries. So back then, assistant coaches couldn't even travel.
Right.
So basically, I remember the things that gave me joy in that job is one, I would help set up practice and I could be with the players. Two, whatever Mark Hankins needed in life, I would be on top of it. Like if he was going recruiting, I'd have his printed out directions on his desk. I'd have a little profile about each guy he was going to see. He'd get on an airplane. I'd have packs of things for him to read about the kids or whatever we were doing that day. I remember it being about him. If I can give him more time to coach and lead this team, then we can be better. That's how I phrased it.
And my memory is that you had a pretty good relationship with Bruce Fossum.
Yeah. Because I didn't travel with the team, a lot of times I was hanging around Forest Acres, and Coach just rode around in those days, and he would come sit in my office. And the office wasn't as big as this table. It was great.
He was sort of a coach emeritus, right? A Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Bruce.
I would just say,
he had. I don't know that Mark ever asked anybody for advice, but
he would give some.
Yeah,
he would give. And then when I would practice, he would watch, and I was still playing a little bit at the time.
Hankins would.
No, Bruce would.
Bruce, yeah,
He
but
taught
I
me
mean,
some
I don't
things.
think Mark ever asked anybody for advice, and probably not Bruce. But I think they had a good relationship too, right?
They did. I think Bruce liked to watch somebody work as hard for this place as Mark did. I mean, that guy worked.
And I think Bruce hired him.
He did. He found him. He's the one who picked him out.
Yeah.
And you think about how great a fit that was. Obviously, we've been going through it the last couple of weeks with a football coach. Finding the great fit is very hard to do.
Nobody thought. No, I mean, I don't know. I didn't think it was possible to do
Be good here.
To do what Mark did.
Yeah.
And and I'm not saying you weren't part of it, but
No, that was him.
I mean,
I just chipped in.
And some people have said, well, it was just a timing thing with Harmon and Brem, and we got Newman, and I'm not trying to undermine. There were some additional players.
Good players.
Yeah, Jimmy Chestnut, obviously.
Randy Hutchison,
that's right.
some good players.
Yeah.
Back then the program could really only recruit in state primarily. That was how it was set up. So there are two back-to-back generational players in the state of Michigan, because they really were, right? They're two of the best 10 juniors to ever come out of Michigan, at the very least. One played the Corn Ferry for 7 years. The other one's been on tour for the better part of 7 years. They did come back-to-back, and we did beat University of Michigan for both of them. But Mark did that. Yes, there was good timing, but we watched those two kids. I watched Brem a little bit at the end. We watched those kids play golf nonstop, so we could make sure Michigan State got them.
And they were quintessential Mark Hankins guys, right?
6'3", 6'4", hit it forever. Shirt untucked, just ripping it, right?
Yeah.
There was timing involved, but those two would still tell you today they were the players they were because of Mark.
Well, that's amazing. So you graduate, and and not like you had a lot of options, really. I mean, obviously you could take the GRE, or you could go find a job, or
I had a lot of great friends, mentors who were successful in the world, who would have given me a good opportunity.
Yeah, you could have gone down and lobbied, right?
Yeah,
at Michigan State, or gotten a job in the Senate, or done that. I don't know if you knew Dano, but he would have helped you out.
Knew Dano well at the time.
Yeah, he would have done something for you. But
Pat Doyle was a former mayor of Mount Pleasant. And he was a lobbyist. He was my mentor.
Right.
There was lots of opportunities, but nothing really made sense like coaching golf.
There's a lot of people that play golf, that love to play at a high level, that hate sort of like I could never call, I can't do it. Like when they're done, but that's not who you were.
No, because even though the competitive side really burned me out, it didn't matter, because my favorite part of golf was always the other people in the group.
The mentoring. And
just being around people. Yeah. This game has opened up so many doors and so many relationships that aren't feasible in most lives. And so that's always the best part. So you shoot 68, you shoot 78. Didn't matter. You were enjoying yourself. It was fascinating every day. That's why I didn't get burned out from playing.
And your parents, they you graduate, and they probably could have put you in a laundromat for
They could have.
for 14 grand a year.
I could have done a lot of things.
You know
for
what I mean?
14
I'm
grand
just
a year.
saying. Well, how do you explain that to them? Well, I'm going to take this assistant coach job.
It was great because it was, I think about how proud my father is today, but back then it was the same thing. He's like, oh my gosh, my son, one, is going to play in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You tell everybody. No, even people who didn't want to listen. Then two, he's going to be a coach in the Big Ten. Like, that's how they took it. Like, he'll figure out the money piece. Can you believe our son's going to coach for Michigan State? That's what I remember from it.
Right.
And then luckily I had a great friend who's still in town here. He basically let me live in his guest room, and I paid whatever rent
Who's
I could.
that?
Nick Pope is his name.
Yeah.
The Washington Square Advisors. Without him, I don't make it because I couldn't eat in some days.
And I don't remember when Hankins last year was, but was it 06 or
So
something?
we won the Big Ten my first year in 2005. We finished second.
As an assistant coach.
Yeah, my first year assistant coach. My second year, we lost by 1 to Northwestern coming down the stretch. And then we won in 2007 at Ohio State. And then Mark got the job offer after that and went to the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
And that's really when.
So 07, so 08 is when we have Sam Puryear.
Yeah. So I was the interim coach for 3 months. I think it was widely understood that I was probably going to get the job. That was kind of a thought around town. And now looking back, I'm okay with how it worked out.
Ron Mason is the AD.
Ron Mason's the AD. Greg Ianni, who's still a mentor in life, was running the search. And I think through the first 4 or 5 candidates, I probably had the lead, but Sam was very impressive. And so he got the job. And then I had a choice. Do I keep following Mark Hankins to Iowa, where I was going to make a lot more money as an assistant coach, or do I stay here and work for my alma mater? And the reality was my relationship with Bram, Harmon, Newman, those guys kept me here. We were 15th in the country.
And you won another.
We won that Big Ten that year too.
Yeah. So tell me what that was. 3 out of 4.
That was 3 out of 4 with the second place in the middle there.
Yeah.
And then then my life changes because I get.
So you won 3 in a row.
No, 06, 05, 06, 08. Or 05, sorry, 05, 07, 08.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Sam was Ron Mason's only black coach he hired.
Yeah, Sam was the first minority, our first black coach in Division I college golf, right?
And you worked for that team. We're going way over.
Okay. So I worked for that
team for how long?
Just 1 year.
And then you went to Miami of Ohio?
And then it was time, right? I wanted to run my own program. I knew I didn't get the job the summer before because I didn't have the experience. And they had kind of said, if you're going to come back here, you got to go to come back. And so
And who's telling you that?
that was, I think Mark Hollis was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Ianni, some of that. I mean, mentors in life, like,
No, but you're not talking to Ron Mason about it. You're not
No.
sitting down.
No, I love Coach, but I didn't, we never had a depth conversation about that.
Right.
He didn't,
I remember being at Reno's with my staff. 'Cause it would have been before Sidebar. And I remember Ron coming. Ron never, sidled up to me, but I remember him telling me, "Yeah, we hired a new golf coach," and I was like, "Oh, great!" He was really excited about it. I think it was because who was at our table. The only reason why he was talking to me, but it was an interesting conversation, and he took some heat later on for that hire, and I actually liked Sam, but it just he's a good guy and a bad fit.
Bad fit.
Right?
Didn't appreciate Michigan junior golf. Made some major mistakes early.
Brought in some outsiders, right? He was able to recruit European players.
He did back then, but that would hurt you more if you recruit internationals. They didn't work out, so he went almost all international. And I know a lot of those kids still. They're still great kids.
Good kids.
And so here I am at Miami building my own program, and that place is so cool.
And the MAC, there's certain schools in the MAC that have a much richer golf history,
no doubt,
than a Big Ten school, than a lot of the Big Ten schools, right?
Kent State would probably have a better history than any of the Big Ten schools other than Ohio State.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So and they have a longer season at Miami of Ohio, right?
Yeah, 6 weeks on each end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, a rich history of golf, and I don't even know the golf course they play down there, but man, a lot of great golfers went there.
It was a very natural fit for a golf program.
And that had to be a little bit of redemption for you, right?
I remember the first year I was there. I mean, I just inherited who I inherited, right? And we beat Michigan State all 3 times we played them that year. And it shouldn't matter as much, but it really mattered to me. Not because I was mad at anyone here. I just wanted to show the people here, when you're looking at the results.
And that was a better team. That was Michigan State.
Oh God, that team had more players on it. And I wouldn't say to my Miami players, but they would know it was a different week when Michigan State was there. And I just wanted Michigan State to see, you were right. I'm going out and building my own program, and we are getting better.
But you're also proving something to Miami of Ohio cut you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You think about how I've only been 2 places, and they both had a series of tragedies followed by some good stuff.
Yeah, and you know, they cut you, and you come back and you coach them. And what do you do that year that you're there? I mean, how does your team finish?
We finished, I think we finished 84th, which doesn't sound that great, but when you consider the MAC at the time, like 84th means you're just missing the NCAA tournament by a few spots, and it was their highest finish in 20 years at that point.
And then why do you come back?
Well, I mean, there's. It's funny. Mark Hollis is someone I've appreciated on so many levels. And I was sitting in my office 2.5 years in Oxford, and I got a call from a journalist in town who was kind of a friend. He goes, "Hey, if we make a change, would you ever coach at your alma mater again?" And I said, I gave the very
journalist said that to you?
a very political answer. I said, "I love working at Miami," because I really did. Some of my dear friends are from my Miami days. But if my alma mater calls, I'll always listen. And that's just kind of how I left it. And so fast forward a couple months, I don't know anything. I'm in my own world. And Mark Hollis calls on a Friday night at 6:30. And
is he the AD?
He's the AD.
Okay.
And he says, "Yeah, you're a new golf coach. I'll see you Sunday at noon." No interview, no questions. Never had talked to me in those 2 years. It was the first thing out of his mouth. "You're a new golf coach. I'll see you Sunday at noon." Now, I think if he'd have said, "Do you want to be the new golf coach?" it would have been a very different response. Like, "Oh, let's talk about it. Let's feel each other out." I just felt like I believed in what he was doing so much, who he was as a leader, and how he viewed the golf program, that it was a no-brainer. Obviously, there's bigger pay and all the things you worry about, but it was, I get to go home and get this place back to where it was.
Tell me what you were making at Miami of Ohio.
I think my last year I made $51,000. By the way, I thought that was the moon. Like, that's a lot of money.
Right.
And I don't know what my first contract was here.
You're not digging blood diamonds, right?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're at a golf course all day. You know, it's not like you gotta run offense and defense. I mean, the guys go out and play, and the numbers sort of call themselves, right?
It's not the most stressful job.
Well, I mean, it can be stressful, but like when you're actually making a decision, I mean, there's more to it than that. But, you can actually look at the score. It's not like you got to decide, hey, is this defensive back going to be better than, is this guy, the scores call themselves,
right? They do. It's a meritocracy
right.
At the end of the day. I mean, so my young family, I just had a 1-year-old at that time. There was nothing wrong with Oxford. Like, I would have stayed there for 20 years. Now, I didn't see the world changing like it has. I'm glad I got back to a Power 5, Power 4 school. But the way Mark phrased that was like, without saying it, he said, "You were born to be in this position. We're going to he didn't even say we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to see you Sunday and we're going to get going."
I think I mean, I was friends with Sam, but I remember having a conversation, bring his name up again, Joel Ferguson, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" There was so much animosity, some of it for all the wrong reasons, about Sam, but I was like, "What are you doing?" And he said to me, "We're gonna keep him for another year," and I was like, so that must have been like 06, 07. And I almost think, for some reason, I connect that with when we had to re-up Tom Izzo again. So there was like a lot going on, and Hollis was coming in as a new AD. And I remember that Big Ten that we won.
The one at Acres.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was there, and believe it or not, for some reason I had an Iowa hat from Kerry Campbell.
Yeah, and Mark Hankins probably.
Yeah. And I had an Iowa hat, and I went out there, and I just happened to, it was not like an ulterior motive, but I was wearing it.
Sure.
I was obviously, we saw Bram make the two putt on the last hole or whatever it was, and I remember those guys looking at me like, see, we did make the right move here, and you know who I'm talking about, Hollis and Ione, and I'm like, I mean, okay, we'll see, and we went from the mountaintop to.
Yeah, we talk about how that happened. We went from 15th to 198th in the country the 3 years I was gone. Some of that was, the world was changing. Some of us kids, they start going in the same direction. So one kid's leaving, another kid wants to leave.
Yeah.
And we didn't have people that cared about Michigan State other than the Ellis boys and Chris Morey and Jimmy Dewey.
I remember seeing you, and it was weird. I remember you telling me we got Chris Morey to commit. You were so pumped up about it.
Spartan. Just a Spartan, right? Every kid has to have, if they don't have it, they have to build that ability to love this place irrationally.
Right.
Because we all do. We love it irrationally. I'm always going to love it irrationally, even when it makes mistakes. I'm its first offender. Kids become that way too. Athletes become that way too.
Right.
In the NIL transfer portal world, maybe not as much, but those four kids, the two Ellises, Jimmy Dooling and Chris Morey, went through all the dark years.
Yeah, they should.
And they're still the greatest Spartans.
Was Dooling here
same time
under Hankins or not?
No, he would have started
right after.
Right after he was with Sam and then me.
Yeah, he was kind of came in with a lot of stardom.
Yeah, big talent.
Yeah,
Michigan guys. Great kid, killing it in the world today.
I love seeing him.
He's everything he does in life is great. So those kids held the program together from a culture standpoint.
Right.
While we were free falling, and then when I got back 3 years later, getting to coach those kids really was how I started.
So you become head coach back at Michigan State
I was just turned 30, so youngest coach in the Big Ten by a lot.
What year was that?
That was 2011. Just turned 30.
And
was
is Hankins still at?
He's at Iowa there.
Still.
Yeah.
So you're coaching against him?
Coached against him, kicked my butt around there for a couple of them. I'm actually my first Big Ten. I remember we beat them pretty good, and I had no business. And he had no business.
Your whole career is about redemption, isn't it? You have a lot of motivators that you don't really carry on your sleeve at all, but, that had to mean a lot to you.
It meant the world, right? Because he's an icon in our sport. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. And we finished fourth with a team that probably should have finished 12th. And we had a 27-shot lead after 15 shot lead after 27 holes in my first Big Ten championship.
In the Big Ten?
With these guys, Morey, Dooley, Ellis, no business doing this,
Wow.
And we hung on to like third or fourth place, but we beat Hankins, and I remember calling him and giving him a hard time.
Remember when you cut me twice?
Yeah, and help me back now. So yeah, those little motivators in life are just we all have them, things that move you forward.
Yeah, and so tell me what year that is.
That's 11. Yeah, 2011, 2012 was my first Big Ten.
And by the way, Michigan State is like the basketball team is great every 3 or 4 years, 5 years or whatever. A football team is like, are we ever going to do it? And 2011 is just sort of, that 2010, 2011.
They started going.
Right? Just
unbelievable years to work at Michigan State. Even though I was building the golf program.
Hollis is there, right?
Yeah.
And it's just
innovative leadership and two of the best coaches the school's ever going to have at the same time.
Yeah.
We didn't know how lucky we were.
Well, I think I don't know.
At least I didn't.
I think some people did. I mean, the idea that you could beat Michigan 3 years in a row, right? And they had Denard Robinson. Not like they had a terrible team. They had, they had really big recruiting years every year, and they had, national coaches, right?
Huge. But Mark D'Antonio made you think it was your right to beat them. It was your responsibility.
Right,
He made you think that.
Right.
And that's why I remember being at the 15, I guess we won the playoff game in Dallas in 14. We beat Baylor, yeah. And I just snuck in the team lounge afterwards.
Riley Bulla.
Yeah, and I hung out with Coach D for like an hour late at night after the game, just sitting there. And I thought, there's a reason this guy's a genius. These kids believe more than they probably should.
Do you feel like, there's something you can get out from somebody like Coach D?
Yeah, Coach D was probably the most applicable to what I do as opposed to Coach Izzo.
Yeah.
Right? Like Coach Izzo leads with this incredible passion, fire, and then no one sees the other side of it where, they're in their office. It's a loving relationship.
The technical part.
Yeah.
The technical.
Coach D led with steadiness.
Yeah.
Like everything was just steady. And most of the time when you're coaching golf, that's the biggest challenge for me. I don't get to react. I don't get to have those emotions because that's just putting it on them now.
Yeah.
He was brilliant at that, and he was much more innovative as a thinker than people thought.
In that time period, how much interaction would you have with him? Like, would it be at just fundraisers and events where you're all like doing what I'll call the song and dance of?
Yeah. I would find times to build those relationships. So Coach Izzo was Harvard for me at that time. But Coach D, we would go to Naples together. I would go to Atlanta when he was meeting with Eddie Smith and Morton Anderson. I would find a way to go to the golf things he was going to so I could have that time with him, whether it was on a plane, whether it was, after a glass of wine at dinner one night. Like I would find excuses to be in those rooms.
And was he like, who is this little shit runner? What do I care about the golf?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it started that way.
He's like a golf. I mean, who can't coach golf? I mean,
it definitely started that way. But when he got invited to play Augusta National in 2016 in the spring, then our relationship really took off because he called me. This is January of 16. He's like, "Hey, I'm playing Augusta in March. I haven't played in 35 years. What do we do?" I said, "Coach, I need 20 minutes a week. 20 minutes a week from now until you go. Find 20 minutes. I'll do it 6 a.m. I'll do it at midnight. I don't care." And that became kind of like our thing. We would meet. It started at 20 minutes. We'd be there an hour and a half. And we'd hit balls like hard, intense training for an hour. And then we'd just talk about life the last half hour.
Yeah.
And this went on.
Would he open up to you?
Oh, very much so, yeah. Things like especially, what was about to happen. I remember him saying, people just think we're going to beat Michigan every year. Right. And this was like in the middle of hitting 7 irons. People just think we're going to beat Michigan every year. Like you could see that pressure mounting because it was an expectation.
I don't know that anybody thought that. I mean, that win in the rain.
Yeah, crazy.
That win in the rain. I mean, every one of them was, in my view, a miracle, like
then the trouble with the
gift
snap
from God. Yeah, like people say, "Where were you when Kennedy got shot?"
Trouble with the snap.
In my lifetime, there's two things I think about. Like, where were you on 9/11? That's
sure.
We all sort of remember that. For a big deal for me was, where were you when Magic announced he had AIDS? Like, I remember I was in Washington, D.C. with my wife, and I had applied to get an LLM at Georgetown, and we were in the hotel room and watching that announcement. It was like, I don't know. And then the other one was, where were you when we had trouble with the snap? And I was in the airport in Minneapolis. I'd flown from San Diego to Minneapolis, and I'm walking through that airport, and I'm watching like the few plays before that. I think we had the ball, and we didn't pick up a third down. We had to punt it. That was Connor Cook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I get to my gate, and there's no TV, and I'm listening to it. And, so whatever people are there are flying to Detroit, right?
Yeah.
And I'm listening to it on the radio, and all of a sudden, trouble with the snap, and I'm like, we won the game. We won.
It was the most amazing. It was like nothing was ever going to happen bad to that program. We were the chosen ones, right? Because they believed. Like the fact they had a name for that play and they considered this would be a possibility just blew my mind.
It just was, it was a romantic era that you thought the Duffy Doherty era would never come back.
Yeah.
It was finally here.
It's the best. So we worked on his golf game that whole winter, and then it wasn't going well. Like he was struggling to still make consistent.
Well, 20 minutes a week is probably not enough if you haven't paid for 35 years.
And so I said, "Okay, Coach, here's the new plan. We're just going to par one hole." And then when anyone asks how it went, you just say, "I parred whatever." All right. So he calls me from Butler Cabin, and he's like, "I parred a hole today." So I'm celebrating. Coach, woo! He parred 14. We figured that out over time. So the next day, he's jumping on the plane to come back home, and he's like, "You're never going to believe it. I made a birdie today." I'm like, "Oh, my gosh, Coach, which hole?" "I don't know." And he describes his par 5 that goes around, and then there's a creek in front of the green.
13.
I'm like, "Coach, it's the most famous par 5 in the world, almost." I said, "How'd you do it?" He said, "Well, I hit my drive in the trees. I skinnied." He used all these terms that you and I would never use. I skinned it along the ground, and then I fatted it, and then I chipped in.
Great.
And I said, everything you touch turns to gold, doesn't it? Right. And then the next year they went 3-9. And he reminds me of he used all his good luck up at Augusta, and then he had a tough year.
I don't remember that year of him going 3-9.
Yeah, he went 3-9 and 16, and then he turned it right back around.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you, even when you're at the top, how hard it is to keep it there.
And you don't just have a relationship with D'Antonio and Izzo. You have relationships with a lot of the coaches.
You learn a lot about coaching from talking to a field hockey coach and a baseball coach and a soccer coach. That's what we do better than any department.
Do they look to you for leadership or not?
I think you think about when I started, I was the newest coach on staff for 6.5 years. So I get the job. 6.5 years later, I'm still the youngest or the newest head coach. Now, fast forward, 9 more years, I'm the 5th oldest. So yeah, there's more times now where I'm guiding
and what I would say is, you got to take out the famous coaches, right? Like their life is never going to be like Izzo's, right? Yeah. Very few of them. So, that's not even somebody that may be touchable to them, but you're sort of there. And, fortunately for you, they're not paying golf coaches $51,000 anymore.
No,
right?
They're not. And then the job has gotten different. So most of the time I'm working with other head coaches is helping them build relationships with their alumni, their donors, putting them in situations. My favorite things to do is, we get invited to 50 golf outings a year. If I'm going to choose to go, a lot of times I like to bring another head coach so they can have that time to build relationships with new alums, donors, et cetera. That's my way of making Michigan State better. That's really what I'm passionate about.
Can you talk about the dark days of Michigan State? 2018, the Nasser, the ESPN stuff,
it was brutal. Yeah, I say it this way, and my ex-wife is a friend of yours. And she's a friend still. We live down the street from each other. We went through a divorce about the same time Nasser started.
Oh, God.
And I would think both of us will tell you, as hard as divorce is, it was almost easier to get over that than the Nasser thing. That's how long it hung around us, right? And this cloud just never left. To the point where you were worried if you were wearing Michigan State logo in an airport, what kind of comments were you going to get? And then I think
we had President Simon then, who was she had in many ways been a significant part of Michigan State's rise, right?
And a trusted friend to all of us, right? So you lose her, you lose Mark, just a lot of turmoil. And I think those of us who have been through and now see what's happening today, especially in the last couple of weeks, when we had the press conference on Friday about the amazing gift from the Williams family, and then we hired Fitz, and I got to spend some time with him Saturday. There was 2 times during those 2 days, I was emotional. When Coach was crying at the press conference the other night, talking about, the Williams gift and the impact it'll have.
Coach
Izzo, yeah. I was emotional too, because you think about how long some of those years were.
Right.
And meanwhile, the golf program was getting better all the way through that, but it was emotionally a much harder job because you care about the place so much.
Right. Parents are saying, why should I send my son to,
and having to talk about that with every recruit.
And really, when Simon, who looked like she was going to be here as long as she wanted to be, and then almost like within 3 weeks had to resign, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you wonder what is the next shoe to drop.
It felt like we were waiting for something every month.
Right.
And we'd have an emergency head coaches meeting or emergency department meeting, or, you were watching the newspapers too much.
Crisis to crisis.
Yeah. And, and then we didn't get out and start thinking about how to move this place forward. We just were firefighting the whole time.
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of that you can't do anything about.
All I could do was go to golf outings and build as many good relationships as I can.
Right.
So one of their connections to Michigan State was a positive one. And on some levels, I'm grateful for that, because that's about what I did. During COVID, the team was getting better after COVID. That was a hard stretch, but I would just go. The golf coach didn't have some of the rules that the rest of the university had. So on my own dime, I would just travel and go see people who were supportive of the athletic department and play golf with them, to turn that story a little bit.
Let me ask you this, because and I want to come back to that, but let me ask you, you got a women's golf coach,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's, I assume, a Hall of Famer, right?
Every Hall of Fame, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Both individually, I think she's in the women's or golf Hall of Fame, maybe, and likely, in some kind of Hall of Fame for her college career
Oh, yeah.
as a coach.
Yeah, she's in the Michigan Golf Hall of Fame, the National Golf Coach Association, and then she'll be in the Michigan State Hall of Fame
Right.
as soon as the rules allow that.
Right. Is that tough when you have that kind of, like, you guys are actually in the same building?
Yeah.
Your offices are right there. There's a lot of interaction and co-working together, whether some of your fundraisers are together. I mean,
Yeah.
how is that, to work together? I mean, you have to work together, but how is that? Like, is that a motivator? Is that a pressure point?
I think it's both of those things. I think more like the rules are so different for the two programs,
Right.
The scholarship amounts and where they can use those scholarships. She appreciated what our level of success was, and I appreciated what her level of success was. Because there was a stretch there, if we finished third at the Big Tens, that would almost be arguably better than her winning the Big Tens, just for how the structure was set
Right.
up. And one of the things I love about her is she's so competitive, but she's always rooting for us too, right? So when James won the amateur in 21, she saw that as a little bit of, we had a kid win the amateur, and that's the only way it was ever going to work.
Right.
Because if the person who works alongside Izzo, Coach Freilich, you're looking over to trying to compare yourself to that, or I'm looking over at Stacy's office saying I'm not good until I have 8 Big Ten titles. Well, that's miserable, right? You're never going to do that. She made it a great place to work, and then we found where each other's strengths were, and she let me go there, and I let her do her thing, because it didn't always work. I would tell you, there's coaches, in across America where the men's and women's golf coaches are in the same building, and there's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
not here.
Yeah, and you've also seen the introduction of the portal and the nil money,
Yeah.
and I hear a lot of criticism of it, and I'm on record, I'm not a critic of it. What I can't seem to understand is how people are turned off. And my whole take on it is it's the 24-hour news cycle, because when you go to a basketball game, right, or you go to a football game, obviously we'd like to win, but the athletes are the athletes, like watching Michigan State play basketball is not any different. We obviously are better this year, but it's still great. It's still a great environment to watch, and the 24-hour news cycle, we got to talk about this kid at Michigan making $10 million. But, still watching him play Ohio State, I mean, I don't know that it shouldn't change the way we look, but from a coach's point of view, talk about it, what your viewpoint is.
I, obviously get two different viewpoints on this. One, these athletes have been wonderful representatives of major institutions that's driven a lot of revenue. I don't think anyone in their sane mind doesn't want them to benefit from that. How it was handled got to a point where there was no foresight, in my opinion, that allowed us to do this in a way that wasn't harmful to another constituency that we cared about, right? So the world gets going fast, and then I got to go to donor A and say, hey, I need you to give this kid whatever it is, or we were hoping you'll give with no tax credit, no gift credit. It's just a gift to someone you're never going to meet. So it put us in a bad spot with our constituency that we had built all this time building a relationship with. And then on the other end, the players didn't feel, right now it's much better, but the players didn't feel like they earned something. That's not how they saw it. They were given something that they really didn't understand, and it was never going to be enough. So it got very dark for a while. Where we're at now is a very healthy place. We've gone back to a meritocracy a little bit. You get what you earn, right? We have NIL in golf. It's a fabulous thing. Before the rule changes, it helped these kids pay for college, helped them buy books and all the things that anyone would want to support.
When a lot of your team are not on a full ride scholarship,
Almost
if any.
Yeah, zero at this point.
Right.
So they're going to have a bill. If they get $5,000 from NIL, that means that they don't take out a student loan, or the parents can put that money towards something else.
And that's part of what you were talking about when you were talking about the rules are different between you and the women's team. That's a Title IX issue. Most of their players, I think, are on some form of scholarship and potentially full ride.
Most in women's golf will be near full ride.
And for you, it's almost
30 to 70%.
Yeah, so in a $25,000 tuition bill, they might get $9,000 or $10,000 or $7,500.
So we were putting these deals together where they would get $5,000 NIL. The donor was happy. They were happy.
Yeah,
it was a very good thing, and we'd read all these stories like that's not our world. But now the guys who make NIL are the ones who earn it. Ashton, Caleb, these better players, they get their own deals, and we support that.
Yeah, and in my view, at least from what I've seen, and I don't really know about the golf team as much as I see some of the basketball players. It really gives them a sort of a much more stable life. Their parents can come to the games, and they don't have to worry about a car, and they don't have to worry about travel and hotels, and they don't have to have what historically would be considered sort of a dark market relationship with an agent or somebody who's, trying to benefit from them down the road.
No doubt. You think about just going into a restaurant in town.
Right.
They would have people they would know, and they'd help them out a little bit. Well, that's a violation, right? Everything was a potential violation.
Right.
Now, and also, you would know this better than I probably, there's standards of behavior they have to follow to keep these deals together, right? We've seen behavior across the board get a lot better. At least publicly. So I think that it's going to find its way here in the next year, and that's where Jay Batt is so brilliant because he's on the cutting edge of this. It's going to find its way to a more sustainable future.
Can you talk about your boss at all?
I'm incredibly impressed. It's been 6 months. I'm lucky because of what I've done in my relationships outside of coaching the golf program. We got to spend a lot of time with him. He's innovative.
Is he a golfer?
Yeah, he's pretty good. He was a good athlete in North Carolina, right? Goalkeeper for a national championship team in soccer.
Okay.
You can tell he doesn't play as much as he'd like, but if I give him, right now we're working on turning his belly button back, so he's getting a good deep turn. If I tell him that, he can do it in one swing. Mm-hmm. My problem is keeping him locked in for 18 holes, because he's got a lot going on in his life. But he will be the guy who leads us into this next era.
Well, it's exciting.
It is. It really, you wake up every day excited about the future of Michigan State.
And really, when I started this about you being Mr. Sparty, right? Mm-hmm. You do a lot more for Michigan State than just coach. right?
Sure.
I
Try
mean,
to.
you would have a lot more free time if you just managed.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm on the road. I'm starting to slow down, but there was a 5-year stretch where I was on the road about 210 nights a year on average. And about 100 of those were being an ambassador for Michigan State in whatever way I could. Golf outings, donor visits, anything. I travel with basketball so I can see everybody there and be part of the.
And you're a big time fundraiser for Michigan State.
I don't ask for money, but I certainly like to be around rooms that can change the program.
You're the closer for Michigan State, is it, so to speak?
I think I'm the one who makes sure that everybody. I try to make sure everybody feels engaged because to me, the gift. If you make a gift to Michigan State, that's the start of the relationship. One of my big things, especially after we went through Nassau or COVID, was so many people. We stand on their shoulders. Let's not forget them now. I mean, and as we go in this new era, we're going to have new donors and new things. The donor who gave me, and you know him, he's one of my dear friends. My first donor was a guy named Dan Farhat.
Right.
Dana will always, I always call him the OD. He's the original donor. He's the first person on my first day who told me he believed in the program by making a gift. He still matters as much today as he did then.
Right.
That's been more of my role. I don't close anything. I just make sure that they feel valued for what they've done for Michigan State.
Well, he talks highly about you, as you know.
Well, he's the best. He's the best. He holds me accountable too, which I like.
Yeah. And so you met the new football coach.
Yeah, you can feel the new
Not a
football
Michigan
coach.
State guy.
Yeah, that's.
Right.
I'm going to give him about one more week, and then you're going to think he is a Michigan State guy. He is exactly Michigan State. His energy, his upbringing, his passion, his.
You know, this is probably maybe as risque of a question that I would ever ask somebody because this is a pretty light interview, right?
Sure.
It's supposed to be up. But what do you think about the process it went through to hire this guy? You know.
So obviously, I think that you hire an AD to be prepared, and he was very prepared. But he also, it's just me speculating. We haven't talked about it. It's also a brutal decision to ever part ways with a coach.
Yeah.
Right. So I think both avenues. We got a great guy who's trying to look after both sides of this equation, right? And that's got to be brutal. But if you decide to make the decision to move on like we did, Fitz makes a lot of sense. And there was a lot of people who would have been attracted to a Fitz hire. So
Look at I don't think firing somebody is a attack on their character. I mean,
No.
right? There can be. It can be.
Yeah.
You can then, scorched earth campaign, but I mean, you get hired to win games, right? And if you can't go 0-7, 0-8, 1-7 in the Big Ten, and then call Casey Lubahn in or Jake Boss or name the coach and say, what do you say when your number one coach, football coach? Like, how do you have that conversation? Like,
it's brutal.
right.
Yeah.
And I think my dad used to tell me all the time, if somebody doesn't fit, you have an obligation to let them go, to go find their,
Sure.
their, someplace where they can do well, right? It's your obligation, not only to the institution, but to that employee, right? And so, ultimately, doing the right thing is not easy, but you have an obligation to do it,
And Jonathan is a world-class man. And
Right.
His integrity. I know he's going to be wildly successful. That was
Right.
primary number one in all our hearts. But results are results in this world. Same thing. If I keep
Right.
shooting 75, I'm not going to play.
Get cut.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
Get cut.
get cut. You keep losing cases, you're not going to keep getting more cases.
Right. Well, when I lose a case, I expect a phone call from somebody saying, we're going to go in another direction. I mean, I get paid to have an outcome, Now, I don't get fired every time I lose because, hopefully we've had the conversation about what the ramifications are. But, I get it,
The world has changed very fast in the last couple of years, and unfortunately, and luckily in golf, it's not that way. But winning and losing has taken very much a front row to all this.
Yeah, it's big money.
It's big money.
It's big money, and everybody wants to do well. And I mean, but it's what you sign up for. Like, would you want it to be any other way?
No, they wouldn't, and especially none of those guys. Right? They want that pressure. They want to talk about winning national championships. When you get a job, they always say you're fired to be hired, or you're hired to be fired.
Right.
And you think, oh, come on, they're not going to fire a golf coach. No, some of that energy of worrying about that is what makes you better.
But yeah, they will fire a golf coach.
They will fire. Yeah, you keep finishing 14th in the Big Ten.
You're getting paid decent amount of money, pretty good. Most probably top 10%, or I don't know.
Yeah, I would think so.
Some. Yeah, you get paid to win.
I have to bring value to an athletic department in a place that believes in me.
And this is what I would say about Fitzgerald, who I don't know, is he's not a Michigan State guy, but when you look at his career, he has a lot of attributes that are Michigan State attributes, right?
They are.
And so hopefully, and we don't, I don't think, ever have him to worry about him going back to Northwestern. So, I mean, he brings everything you do, and we probably weren't going to get Saban or Urban Meyer. So he was probably the best hire we could have got from the position we were in. And, hopefully he can win. Because if he doesn't win, then we have to have another conversation. But I think he can win.
I think he can win. Here's how I describe it. So Michigan State golf has been pretty successful over the last decade. I was telling Izzo this the other day. We finished top 4, 6 of the last 7 years. So if you did that in any sport, you'd be very proud. Now, we haven't got over the finish line and won. We lost by a shot, and we finished 3rd and whatever. But we've been in the top 4 consistently now for 6, 7 years. Now, if you were to move me to the number 1 golf program in the country who has weather, access, resources greater than ours, would I be as good as they are? I don't know. But I think I could be better maybe than I am here at Michigan State. If you're just using my part of it. What Fitz did at Northwestern was really unbelievable.
Miracle, right?
Yeah. I mean, for a place that didn't have those expectations, didn't have the infrastructure, he's a winner.
And are you just talking about him as a coach?
I'm talking about all of it.
Because as a player, they went to the Rose Bowl, right?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Right? And he was Southside Chicago kid who did that. Everybody I know at Northwestern and some donors who are connected to both schools, he's their favorite human ever. Right? They all have talked about it. And I've known this for years because the guy who got me in this business, other than Mark Hankins, is the former golf coach at Northwestern. Everyone's favorite guy. It reminds me of how we speak about Izzo. Izzo is our emotional and spiritual center of this entire ecosystem of Michigan State. He was that to them. So now we have 2 of those guys.
So we're way over, and I just want to ask you, you're married now.
Yeah.
Remarried. And you guys look like you are a power couple at Michigan State.
We're both working pretty hard on behalf of this place.
She is. Tell me what her title is.
Oh, it's like 13 words long. But she's a senior executive AD who's in charge of brand marketing.
Yeah. And you have 2 kids you're trying to raise.
13 and 15 girls.
Yeah.
One sports junkie and one.
And you're really not going anywhere.
No.
I mean, unless there's a cute situation, right?
It would have to be pretty rare. Like if they asked me to be chief of staff for like the next president of the United States or something, then it's really.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, one of those opportunities came across my.
And I asked this question about a lot of people. Sort of we get down to the end. I say, looking back, maybe you could have gone, you could have stayed at Miami of Ohio. You probably had opportunities to leave here. I mean, you probably, you have great relationships with the donors. I mean, you know how to run things. You probably have opportunities to do something outside of golf. But, do you look back and think, I made all the right decisions with regard to where I am today?
Honestly, that's a great question, Andrew. I do. I look back every time the road could have turned into a different direction. I felt like I made the direction to love Michigan State and love this program and the people that I get to spend my life with. And that's my joy. Ford Field a couple weeks ago, we played a game. We went into DAC afterwards, and I ran into 7 Spartans that I've communicated with and didn't know well enough. And we spent an hour catching up, knowing each other. That's where I get all my happiness, is this place and its connection that it does for humans.
And you have a lot of positive relationships with a lot of great people. I mean, Ron Gantner.
Yeah. Just
one of the guys I love seeing it. I mean, he's at everything, right?
We're going golfing next week. I have used this golf to create relationships that I'm so blessed to have, and that's why I don't see myself doing this anywhere else.
You're still playing competitively?
A little bit. Not as much the last couple of years, but I'm going to get back into it here.
And you're healthy?
Yeah, I mean, I got golf aches and pains, but those are good ones.
Where do you see your team over the next few years? I mean,
well, this is the squad that has to break through here. You know, we got to get going here. We're probably 5th in the Big Ten right now after the fall, but you know, really, I think we're going to be one of the top 2 or 3 contenders.
You don't have an off season, really, do you?
We take like this month.
Winter off.
Yeah. January 10th, we're back to full steam all the way through June now. I think this is a good program. The 26 class, the 27 class is easily the best. I can't talk about it, but it's usually the best I've put together in a while. So the program keeps building on itself.
What do you need?
What do we need?
Yeah.
We need a little help with the structure of the program, right? Just so as the new world changes, now you can have as many scholarships as you want, right? There's no limit. If you can have 9 players, you can have 9 full scholarships. So we need to be competitive in that area.
How many players do you have?
We have 9.
9, and that'll be the number, right?
Always going forward.
Yeah.
This is the last year. We actually have 10 now, but this is just an exemption because of the new thing. We'll always have 9 going forward.
That's the Power 5 agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we need a lot? No, we just need fans to keep engaging, keep supporting. We got to get a couple players who are in the 4 and 5, 6 spot to believe, and I think this is a very elite team. Most importantly, we need Ashton to have a healthy wrist.
I mean, great player. He came on. Great kid.
Top 25 in the world.
I don't know any player that I've met on that team. You know, I played golf with Caleb. I played with Lorenzo. I see Lorenzo. He just won some award at Michigan State, and I texted him, and he responded right away. Of course, Drew Miller, I think the world of.
He's going to be a great player.
And you know, we got to stop saying "gonna be," and we have to say he is. And
he is.
He doesn't live up to his own expectations right now, and I think that's a good sign for him that he will start to play great.
We had a nice talk last week. You know, Drew's a kid who you can't fault him for practicing like it's life and death and playing like it's life or death.
Right.
He's got to give himself a little break because once it happens, it'll happen easily going forward.
I love playing with him, and I think you know, I was a big proponent of him coming to Michigan State. And
I appreciate that.
I had one conversation. We're going to wrap this up. I had one conversation with him when he was thinking about Illinois, and I said, "Just tell me how you're going to get there." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, just tell me how you're going to get there. And he goes, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Well, tell me how you're going to get to Illinois. Like, are you going to drive? Tell me how you drive there." You know, we spent about 10 minutes going back. I said, I don't know how you would you can't fly there, I don't think.
It's pretty tough. But
you can't get a direct flight.
No.
No. You got to, even if you flew someplace, you'd have to, you know, and Illinois obviously is a storied program.
It's amazing.
But I'm certainly glad he chose here, and I think he's glad he chose here. And
it's these journeys, right? They all have their bumps in the road, but they all are moving like the stock market. And you don't really get to know a kid in a special way until the adversity comes.
I don't think you can be great without, you know, being cut or without getting knocked out. My dad would tell these stories, and they were just like horrifying. Like, you know, to some, like today, there'd be millions of lawsuits, but like he'd be in elementary school, and the teacher would say, "What do you want to be?" And he would say, "Oh, I want to be a lawyer." And the teacher would say, "Oh, Freddie, you can never be a lawyer." You know, it would just be constant things, and he would talk about them as though they motivated him.
Sure.
You know, some people have an excuse to lose and some people have an excuse to win. And you got a lot of excuses to win.
I like that line. My wife actually uses this more than I do. We got to find a way to yes. We got to find a way to yes. And so many people find a way to no so fast.
Yeah, they got an excuse not to take action instead of act. And man, this has been great.
Well, thank you.
You've been my longest guest so far, but this was easy. I could have done another hour.
Me
but,
too.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much.
All right, great.